Imagine this. You plan on exploring the abandoned house down the road from your best friend's house. They think it's a great idea to go exploring. It seems sketchy, but after some convincing from them, you agree. You only live once, they remark, so you pack your things to this oddly disturbing house. You nearly had to break the door to get it open, but you managed. Once you're in, you notice that everything in the house is blanketed in dust. It's way darker than you expected. Your friend clicks on their flashlight, then you check on it for yours. Must have left it in the car. No biggie. I would follow my friend, I think. Yeah, that's a good idea. Try to calm yourself. There's nothing in this house that could bother me anyways. You follow your friend and their light as you both walk up the stairs. When you make it to the top, you check your watch, 7:37. You think, yeah, I'll make it home in time. When you look back up, however, your friend is gone. All that's left in front of you is a dark hallway. And wait, someone's there. A dark silhouette, hair faintly swaying to the cold outside breeze, and a figure. The figure doesn't look right. You freeze. Every breath is getting harder as you take an inch forward, down the hall, closer to it. You blink. You could have sworn it moved. Your skin bubbles. You feel your chest tightening. You're thinking, what is it? Who are you? You take one more step to realize it has no face. You fall back, panting in fear and dread, as you can finally yell their name. You come rushing, asking what's wrong. In a panic, you take their light to expose this horrible creature. Pale skin, inhuman feature, no face. Your friend bursts out laughing. A mannequin? You're joking. You had me thinking you were being killed. A feeling of relief comes over you like cool water on a hot summer day. That instinct, that panic and fear when something looks like you but isn't, that is called the Uncanny Valley. The Valley of the Uncanny, also known as the Uncanny Valley, is a strange phenomenon when something looks almost human, like a prosthetic or a mannequin, or even a CGI character, elicit feelings of uneasiness or stress. Not all human-like figures induce stress, however. Why some, but not all? This is where the Uncanny Valley comes into play. The concept originated by a Japanese roboticist in 1970 named Masahiro Mori. He noted that the higher in human likeness an object is, the higher the viewer's affinity. Affinity is the natural likeness or sympathy for something. The viewer's affinity drops significantly, however, when an object nears complete human likeness, and then affinity is replaced with feelings of dread and angst. Once the object reaches total human accuracy, the feeling of fear and anxiety suddenly disappear and then replaced with peak affinity. This graph shows the Uncanny Valley, as I presented earlier. Now it all makes sense, right? The sudden dip in affinity at about 70 to 90% human likeness create a valley. In this plummet of affinity, you can see some uncanny things, like a prosthetic hand as noted in the graph. Horror movies pose as a great example of the Uncanny Valley. Many of them utilize elements from the Uncanny Valley, like pale faces, inhuman proportions, and unsettling demeanor. One great example of this are zombies and how they were depicted in Maze Runner. They seemed unwell and had a weird way they carried themselves. As soon as they were provoked, they charged at the main characters. Not like a normal human, however, but it seemed like they somehow weren't in control. The Mandela Catalog is another great representation of the Uncanny Valley. The Mandela Catalog is a popular YouTube series created by indie horror filmmaker Alex Kister in 2021. The basis of the Mandela Catalog is that there are these mysterious creatures called alternates. These alternates take form of their human victims, and they are sorted into 4 categories: doppelgangers, unspeakables or detectable, flawed impersonators, and tulpas. Each type of these alternates have their own characteristics, which branch from the Uncanny Valley. Kister's Mandela Catalog takes full advantage of suspense, story, and the Uncanny Valley to create a terrifying and thrilling experience for his audience to enjoy. Before I knew anything about the Uncanny Valley, I stumbled across this interesting video by a YouTuber named North02. It is named The Uncanny Valley Theory of Human Evolution. This video is the reason why I chose this subject. I've never been into horror, and honestly, I avoided it because even if it was a cheap film production, it scared the heck out of me. Until I saw this video. I was fascinated as to why I am so terrified of certain things, like aspects of the Uncanny Valley. And I also wondered why I was so scared of these not even threatful things, but I'm not scared of even more threatening things like guns or knives. Dolls and mannequins especially disturb me. North02 answered this question I had. He notes that it's just enough to be terrifying. Something's off. He then tries to apply different theories as to where this natural instinct could have came from, stemming from the theory of evolution. He proposes that the theory may have come from a time when the world wasn't just home to humans, but also home to animals that looked a lot like humans, but weren't. North02 starts off with another example of an instinctual fear hardwired in primates and humans to fear serpents. He backs his claim in a scientific study where scientists showed monkeys objects that resembled serpents, like snakes. Upon spotting these snake-like objects, the monkeys triggered a stress response. He proposes the reason behind these stress responses is because snakes are very deadly creatures for millions of years. The monkeys without the stress response didn't survive to pass their genes. Could this be the same premise for humans and the Uncanny Valley? Well, on the surface it seems like we developed this instinct from other human-like species, like Neanderthals. But if that's the case, then how would we have a fear of them if we have interbred with them? That just doesn't make any sense. North02 also offers the idea that the Uncanny Valley may have rooted from disease and recognizing attributes of sickness or being unwell. This explains the pale faces and the abnormal movements. Noticing these subtle changes in the way someone may carry themselves could have been the matter between life and death back then. What about a corpse? A corpse is another example of the Uncanny Valley and a breeding ground for sickness and infection. They also look eerily human, but just devoid of life, pale skin, and no movement. This is another likely theory of where the Uncanny Valley may have stemmed from. It may even be identifying sickness and corpses together, which may be the answer. Being able to recognize death would have been essential to survival, not only because it may save one from sickness, but also allows one to identify whether or not there are predators. Faces that look alive but aren't. They trigger the same responses as horror films do. Maybe the identification of illness and death is the explanation behind the Uncanny Valley. The proposed phenomenon of the Uncanny Valley prompts many questions. One major question about it consists of where it originates. There are many theories than what I have touched, but are quite far-fetched and/or has little evidence to back them up. To conclude, I believe that the Uncanny Valley may have come from survival instincts to protect themselves from sickness, alongside identifying the line between an alive body or a corpse.